I gotta say, Steven Wilson has done it again. He's written another great album, phenomenal album. This is Harmony Codex by Steven Wilson. Of course, it's a record of the highest caliber, of the highest standards. And it's very rare for an artist who's prolific like Steven Wilson to consistently write music of this high standard, of this high level, one year after another. But Steven Wilson has been able to achieve that. Now, the album that came prior to this, which was Closure Continuation, in the context of course, Porcupine Tree, that was more written like a collaborative efforts between Steven Wilson and other band members like Richard Barbieri and Gavin Harrison. But this album is different from that in the sense that this is Steven Wilson expressing himself freely, writing music in the most selfish and the most self-indulgent manner, and just making no concessions, no compromises to anybody. And I think he just wrote the album to fulfill his musical curiosity, to satisfy his own taste, his own curiosity for music. Now, I gotta say, the word that comes to my mind when I think of this album is the word transcendent. Now, it's got this transcendent, almost like ethereal quality with respect to especially the title track, Harmony Codex. It's a track that reminds me of the music that was incorporated in 2001 Space Odyssey by Gheorghe Ligeti, the Hungarian composer of the early 90s, or I'd say like mid 90s. And it's a different kind of music. I think it's more like cosmic noise. So melody, harmony, counterpoints are hardly relevant. It's about an artist who's creating this sort of sound stage, is creating this more like immersive experience that you find yourself kind of swimming in that. And it's pretty bizarre. I mean, I've listened to Harmony Codex, just that track, a few times to be able to appreciate that, appreciate the immensity of the music, and I highly recommend that you do the same. Don't listen to Harmony Codex when you're distracted by your smartphone, or don't listen to Harmony Codex through your smartphone or while you're driving your car. The best way to do it is to listen to it through a good system, perhaps maybe a good quality pair of headphones, or maybe a high-res player, and you can plug in your headphone into that and just listen to the music, turn off the lights, and just find yourself kind of floating into this kind of musical vacuum, I gotta say. Wonderful, wonderful record. There are some songs that are actually my absolute favorite. I mean, of course, I think the best song for me, the one, and not necessarily the best song, the best music, the best composition, is of course the Harmony Codex. But there are some brilliant ones that kind of take me back to like early Porcupine Tree material. So one of them, of course, is What Life Brings. It's very similar to the music that he wrote as part of the In Absentia album, especially the Prodigal. I think it bears some similarities to that particular track. Another one that is my absolute favorite is Actual Brutal Facts. That's just classic kind of Porcupine Tree progressive music, aggressive, weird, strange guitar solos, strange time signatures, and so on and so forth. So as I said, the word that comes to my mind is transcendental quality of the music is quite amazing, is simply beyond reproach. Now, when I listen to Harmony Codex, another thing that comes to my mind is I kind of see myself looking through a telescope at the Andromeda Galaxy, for example, or looking at the planets, looking at the stars. I used to have this habit of setting up my telescope in places where nobody went, and I just would look at the stars. I would just take a lot of joy and pleasure in just splendor and beauty of nature. When you find yourself in the company of nature, and you look up, there's no light pollution. Look at the stars, look at the galaxies, look at the moon. It puts you in a very how do I like as I said, transcendental state of mind. It brings you a lot of humility. You kind of see yourself as part of nature, not as someone who's opposing nature, and you feel kind of this state of oneness with nature, with the universe. It's almost like a spiritual experience. So overall, I'm quite pleased with the album cover. Album cover is something that you can uh, make your own interpretations of what it represents, what it means. You can decipher the code yourself. And I gotta say, this is more like this is more like me just talking about the album. I haven't really appreciated the album in its entirety. I haven't really investigated every single track one by one. But overall, I'm quite pleased with this endeavor, with this effort, and I think he's been able to achieve at writing great progressive rock music. One more time. Now, I gotta say what I mean by progressive music, progressive rock music. Progressive music to me represents an artist who's willing to take risks, who's willing to write music that's more like an amalgamation of different styles of music. Now, back in early 2000, I think in the music of Porcupine Tree, Steven was incorporating a lot of metal elements, a lot of maybe jazz music, kind of pop music, but none of those actually represented the whole picture. Each one of those was more like a musical language that he was using for writing his music, and so people would refer to Porcupine Tree in early 2000 as a progressive metal band, but most of the songs that they wrote had like a small metal element to them, but they weren't necessarily the progressive metal album. So it was part of his musical vocabulary. So everything. So he's got this almost like an artist who's got all these different possibilities at his disposal, and he can tap into every single one of these possibilities to create this greater picture that he's got in mind. And I really admire him for being able to do something like that. So I highly recommend it. If you haven't listened to this already, I would highly recommend that you give it a shot. You won't be disappointed. And also put your focus on the title track, Harmony Codex, and just give it repeated listens because it absolutely deserves to be listened to many and many times. Thank you very much. I plan to do a more proper review sometime in the future. So yeah, thank you very much thank you very much for subscribing to my channel, and I really appreciate your support, and also just the fact that you are with me on this journey. Thank you very much. Cheers.